Hello and welcome to the Tarkus Zone. Thank you for joining me. Today we're going to be talking about the game RivenWorld: The First Era, and I'm on the store page right now looking at the new updates that they've made to their page. We're seeing new pictures, it looks like, that's scrolling through their store page now, and they put a new video. We'll watch the video in a second. I wanted to say the game has been fun to test. I put a lot of hours into testing this game. I am not sure if this has me on record here. Well, it's got me on record for the core game at 146 hours. And I know they had a test phase module that I put another 30 hours into. So I put a lot of hours into helping test this game. And I believe that the things that I was able to test worked and performed adequately, and it seemed to be normalized. Interfaces seem to be normalized with other survival aspects games that are on the market. So I would recommend this game. I believe the price tag of this game is going to be $20. So for those people who had asked me, is this free to play? They're not going to have a microtransaction system in the game. There's not going to be any of that. So it's a one-time buy. They're going to also provide updates, and they're also providing public servers for you to play on. So for the $20, you're getting a copy of the game, the access to the public servers, and then access to future content within the early access. At some point, for them to continue making money, they're going to need to do like a downloadable content that you have to pay for. So maybe a year from now, a lot of games do that to keep the servers up, to pay for the servers. Because at $20 a copy, I mean, if your game's longevity is 5 years, there's got to be ways to bring in some more revenue during that during the time that the game is open, and you got to pay for those public servers. So usually a game like this would do a downloadable content, like I'm using this as an example, like a dragon pack. We're going to add dragons to the game, and it costs $10, and then. And so that you can only see the dragons if you spend the $10 or have that content. A lot of developers do it that way. I'm not really sure how they're going to do it, but it's par for the course when it comes to that, especially when you're buying the core game and then you're playing it with no microtransactions. Now, when a developer puts microtransactions in their game, then they've got that revenue coming in that helps them pay for the servers. And then sometimes even a microtransaction game will hit you with a downloadable content bundle if you want it. All right, so let's go to this video here and let's watch it. Want to point out the rendering distance here. See how far you can see that light from that torch? So their rendering on this game is pretty good. I've done a few videos during my testing videos that showed you that one day I couldn't see my house from a particular location, couldn't see my house up on a cliff. And then the developers decided to increase the rendering distance, and then I was able to be actually standing in the ocean and I could still see my house. Which the rendering distance is pretty superb in this game. So you're not getting like a closed-in feeling where things were like kind of squirrely out from long distances and they were rendering weird. So they got a pretty good rendering distance in this game. Now this game is releasing on the 14th Again, it's going to be about $20 to buy it, and they're going to have the public servers. And I think it's going to be a good time. I'm going to try to join a role play server, a public role play server. What else can I say about the game itself? When I was testing it, I want to point out that the developers have been really good at working with the feedback, especially the feedback that I've given them. I'm not an expert at every survival game, but I know the nuts and bolts of a survival game. I know the nuts and bolts of a PvP survival game. I also know, because I do beta alpha testing for a lot of games, you'll see that on my channel, that I play a whole ton of games. And I know what interfaces are clunky. I know what things that should not be doing. And I was able to share my knowledge with them throughout my testing, not only just pointing out bugs, but pointing out saying, look, this feature you got in the game might be better off if you tweak it this way. And sure enough, they made the adjustment. We tested the adjustment, and then it became smoother. It became better. So I believe that when you get the game, and if you report feedback, features that you want to see or bugs, they'll be timely on fixing it. Now, I was only able to test what was in the game when it was in the game. Now they're adding the bow shortly. They're going to be adding the deer animation mechanics, so that AI is going to be working. I haven't seen that yet. The vendors are new, and they're working out that a little bit. And it's almost the 14th, so it's this Friday, right? So I believe they're going to be working on this too. It says 2 days away, so they're going to be working on the build of this thing up to the day. And you're probably going to need to be prepared by the fact that when you get a lot of hands on this thing on day one, that they're going to take the bugs and the feedbacks, and they're going to try to fix them timely. I don't think we're going to look at weeks here. I think we're going to look at days, where they'll, at the end of the day, look at what the list might be that might be problematic, and then work on that in a timely fashion. And so I guess what I would ask is, if you're getting this game, don't be a harsh critic about the game until you give the development team just a chance to hear your voice. And if you feel that your voice only can be heard by slamming a terrible review, I guess if that's how you feel, then you can do that. But I would ask that maybe you just reach out to them on a Discord, reach out to them in the social community hub, and say, look, this seems to be a problem. And the thing with, when people pay for a product, when you buy a product, you expect it to perform based on what it is, right? You don't want to, you don't go buy an apple for $1 and bite into it and it's all rotten inside. That's not right. And you'd complain and get your $1 back or get a new apple. So there's expectations that you buy something, it should meet your expectations. But with video game testing and video game releases, and the reason why this is getting early access is you might take a bite of that apple and it might taste like Toby's ass, but you need to hand it back to the guy and say, it tastes like Toby's ass. You got to give me a new apple. What's going on here? What do how are you growing these trees? Give them some feedback, Don't just go outside their store and pick at the store. They sell terrible apples. I mean, I don't think that's the best approach, especially if you want to make sure that the game has some longevity. I mean, if you burn the house down during the review process, then the game never gets out of what it's trying to be. And I know the developers want to do the best thing they can for the community because they got a lot of love for this game. Now you can go to the discussion page and post here and tell them what you're thinking, what you're feeling. I know the Discord has a bug reporting channel, so you can freely go into the bug reporting channel and let them know what's going on if you're finding that the game's not meeting your expectation. And I'm not trying to say that this game is not going to meet your expectations, but we all have to be understanding that it's an early access. It's going to be releasing in a couple days. They put a lot of work into this thing just in the last few months to get it to where it is now. And just the progress that they've made in the last 3 months just overwhelmingly tells me that they're putting the work in, and they're trying to fix whatever concerns people, whatever that might be. All right. Well, thank you for joining me. This has been the Darkest Zone.